So just really quick to walk you through how to use your inverter. You're obviously going to show up on jobs that don't have access to power, and you have one of two options. You can get an inverter or you can get a generator. If you get a generator, you're not really limited with what you can do with it. You can run a rotary buffer on it, you can run a pressure washer on it, you can run a pretty big vacuum on it, whatever you want really, because the generator is going to produce enough wattage, amperage, and voltage. I mean, you got enough coming out of it. With an inverter, you're obviously more limited because you're going to hook up the battery on your car. We tried using that pressure washer. It's actually a pan to that. We tried using that pressure washer and it didn't work. It's pulling too much wattage. So that wouldn't work. We had a big like 6 horsepower vacuum that wouldn't work, but this one does. This is a 2.5 horsepower vacuum and it works just fine. So you see this is on. No problems, which is cool. That said, if you're not going to hook directly up to this like this, which I assume you wouldn't because you'd have to park very close to the client's car, what you could do, if you need to hook an extension cord to this, you want to use the shortest extension cord possible because the longer the extension cord, the more draw you're going to have off of it. It's going to be less effective. So shortest extension cord possible and weakest tools possible if you're in that situation. So if you don't want to opt to buy a generator, we actually sell one for like mid $200. It's not bad. But this big, you can fit it in any car. You can run anything you need off of it. If you opt to, I want to get an inverter, it's a little less money, you are obviously going to be limited. So always have waterless wash and wax on you, knowing that you aren't going to be able to run a pressure washer off of it. But you should have an inverter or a generator and waterless wash and wax on you, no matter what, because you're going to show up at apartments and the expectation that the job still gets done. These aren't that expensive. Let me walk you through just how to hook it up. Obviously, these are just two 110 plugs, so you just plug those in, but obviously that's how that works. For this, when you get it in your box or when you buy it, these aren't connected quite yet, so I'll disconnect the whole thing for you just to show you. But when these show up, these little pins are right here. So on each one of these, you're gonna have 2 washers here. That's just because you don't want it contacting the plastic on here, you want it contacting metal. So you can pull this off. This won't be on there, obviously. These washers will be here, this cap will be on it. So you just stick this guy on this side, put the washers over it. You can put one on either side if you want, it really doesn't matter because there's a metal plate on the bottom. And then you screw this down. And you do that with each side. And then you hook it up just like jumper cables. Typically you want to do black first, you want to do your ground first. Some people disagree on that, they're wrong, but that's okay. But black first, and then get it positively on there as good as you can. Make sure there's no plastic contacting it, you don't want it to interrupt. You're already pretty limited on power here. Make sure these are tight, you don't want to over-tighten them where you're crimping anything, but make sure they're tight. And then just turn it on. It's sunny, so I gotta kind of block that, make sure my power light's on and the fault light's not. If that fault light lights, it means I'm drawing too much power on it. It's not capable of doing what I need to do. Again, for reference, we tried to use a pressure washer, that didn't work. We tried to use my air compressor, that didn't work. We were just kind of trying to see what the limit of this was. We know, that a 2.5 horsepower vacuum will work, and that's more than enough. You really don't need more than that. A lot of these guys, some of the guys will carry around like a 5-6 horsepower vacuum. You don't need that. Typically the one that we'll equip our guys with is 2 to 3 horsepower. It's all you need. We know you can run an inverter off it, so you're good to go. If you want a bigger vacuum and you need to be able to run buffers on site where you're not going to have power, which happens, get a generator. If you don't want to do that and you have to opt for an inverter, sometimes a lot of guys call in and we're like, my inverter's defective or it's not working. You're probably just running too much power on it. So again, in summary, shortest extension cord possible because you don't want to do too much draw, and just be really aware of how much power you're drawing off of it. A lot of guys are worried it'll damage their battery. It won't. I mean, it shouldn't. There's no reason it would. There's 2 fuses right here. There's typically a fuse on anything that you're running here also. So I mean, that'll trip before you draw too much power from the battery. If it shortens the life of your battery at all, it's not talked about with the inverter or any of the equipment, or I mean, it should be fine. It'd be crazy if it did. That said, if you are worried about that, there's a very simple solution: buy generator. It is definitely the cure-all solution to all of these. That's it. I just wanted to show you guys how to use this because a lot of people are having trouble with it. Thank you.